Yaga Spotlight with me, Tehmina Kaoosji. Welcome to this very special episode brought to you by the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA Malaysia, in collaboration with Astro AWANI. Now, this week on Future Affairs, we will be covering the 34th annual celebration of the International Day of Older Persons, or IDOP 2024. This is, of course, commemorated each year on the 1st of October, and the focus this year is a sharp insight on, of course, dignified aging via care and support systems. A couple of facts before we get started off, though. Did you know that, of course, now life expectancy at birth exceeds 75 years in half of the world countries? And of course, this is 25 years longer than it was in 1950. Malaysia is not doing too badly either. Our current average life expectancy is in fact 76 years of age, and we are naturally thus rapidly moving towards becoming an aging nation or age nation by 2030. More than 15% of our population will be aged above 60, and that's all happening in less than 6 years. This figure stands at 11.1% of our total population as of this year in 2024. Now, naturally, such a monumental demographic shift will be impacting the country's development as a considerable portion of the population retires and will then be requiring comprehensive health care overall, as well as social support services. We begin today's special episode with exclusive comments from Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Nancy Shukri, Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, who shares a few perspectives on the occasion of IDOP 2024. Let's watch.
Ya, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Salam Malaysia Madani. Today we celebrate the International Day of Older Persons, a day dedicated to honoring the wisdom, experiences and contributions of our elderly. By 2030, Malaysia will be recognized as an aged nation, with 15.3% of our population will be aged 60 and above. This milestone reflects both our progress and the urgent need to address the evolving needs of our aging society. We should take pride in our achievements in enhancing the quality of life and extending the lifespan of our rakyat. Over the past 5 decades, Malaysia has seen a remarkable increase in life expectancy from 63 years to 76 years. This improvement is a testament to our commitment to better healthcare, social development, and overall well-being for all Malaysians. However, as we celebrate these successes, we must also confront the challenges that lie ahead. Addressing the critical issues surrounding aging requires a unified approach. Multi-agency collaboration is essential, with all relevant stakeholders involved in crafting blueprints, roadmaps, and resource allocations to support our aging population effectively. We know from numerous surveys that Malaysians prefer to age in place, valuing the familiarity and comfort of their own homes. It is therefore a whole nation's duty to respect these preferences and uphold our cultural values, ensuring that our elderly receive the care and support they deserve within their communities. At the national level, the government undertakes various efforts, specifically through the National Advisory and Consultative Council for Older Persons, or NACCOP. This council is in charge of overseeing the policy for older persons and its plan of action. Through this council also, representatives of older persons in various fields will discuss and provide recommendations to the challenges faced by older persons, such as the pandemic, which worsened the financial vulnerability of many elderly individuals who find themselves in dire straits at a time when economic opportunities are limited. The increase in levels of non-communicable diseases, or NCDs, where only 66 of the average 76 years of life are spent in relatively good health. The burden of unpaid care work, especially on women, continues to weigh heavily on our society. Many women are forced to balance multiple care roles, often leading them to exit the workforce. This results in older women being more vulnerable, both economically and socially, due to limited financial resources and the lack of accessible infrastructure for the aging population. In order to address some of these challenges, the government will continue to promote a healthy aging lifestyle through our 169 Pusat Activity Warga Emas, or PAWE we call it, across the country. In addition to that, the Ministry is working diligently on finalizing the draft of the Malaysian Care Industry Action Plan to address serious caregiving concerns. Though this list seems overwhelming, rest assured the government is committed to addressing the challenges one step at a time. But we cannot do it alone. We need the collective effort of the community as well. The well-being of our senior citizens starts from home, and all of us have a responsibility to inculcate a positive intergenerational environment for all members of the family. Lastly, on this International Day of Older Persons 2024, the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development, or known as KPWKM, extends our heartfelt wishes to all senior citizens. Your contributions have shaped our nation, and it is our responsibility to ensure you enjoy a dignified and fulfilling life. Thank you, and let us continue to work together to build a future that honors and supports our older generation.
Welcome back, everyone. Still with me, Tehmina Kaoosji, here on Niaga Spotlight, with, of course, our special episode focusing on IDOP 2024, a collaboration between UNFPA Malaysia and Astro AWANI. We shift now after hearing those very insightful exclusive comments from Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Nancy Shukri into a panel discussion live in the studios with subject matter experts. We're going to be focusing on socioeconomic dynamics as well as policy recommendations for a healthily aging society, which contributes to Malaysia's national development. We now introduce our panel, made up, of course, with Lily Fu, gerontologist and founder of Seniors Aloud; Tunku Aira Tunku Razif, who's assistant representative with UNFPA Malaysia; and we are also joined by Associate Professor Dr. Rahima Ibrahim, who is director with the Malaysian Research Institute on Aging, My Aging. A very good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for making time to join us today. And of course, a very happy IDOP 2024. Fantastic. So allow me to get started off, and perhaps I can begin the discussion by referring to Dr. Rahima. So Dr. Rahima, from a My Aging perspective, let's frame Malaysia's aging nation priorities. Now, the critical global as well as Malaysian concern is actually now ensuring access to affordable aged care and decent jobs for care workers. So where should we be starting, as care is both essential infrastructure and also an economic issue, Dr. Rahima?
Okay, I think, thank you, Tehmina. For this question, I'd like to emphasize that we need a comprehensive approach to address population aging in Malaysia, especially in terms of cross-sectoral collaboration and implementation strategies to address the needs for long-term care of the aging population. And for this, we need an integrated health and social services. And we should look at care as something needed across our lifespan, our life course. So every one of us will need care at some point in our lives. So it's a basic human right, and everyone needs it, and therefore it should be a shared responsibility. It's not just by the family, but also it should be provided as a social investment by the government.
Absolutely, and I really resonate with the fact that you emphasize that we require care not only towards the end of our lives, but of course we all begin our lives as a result of care. and investments, not just from the family, but also overall governmental policies, right? So perhaps, Dr. Rahima, any insights or thoughts from My Aging's perspective when it comes to universal accessibility for aged care? Because what we're also seeing today in 2024, not just in Malaysia, but so many other countries in our region, we're actually one of the most rapidly aging regions in the world. That is both a blessing, but it can also be hugely challenging when it comes to accessibility. Any thoughts on that?
Okay, in terms of care, the majority of Malaysians are cared for by family members.
That's right.
And if you need any form of formal services or help or support at home, most of these are coming out of pocket by older persons themselves or the family members. So this commodification and commodification, meaning that we have to pay for services that is beyond the ability of families to provide. So it's not a viable solution for everyone. Mm-hmm. And of course, for those who can afford care or can purchase care from the market, it shouldn't be a problem. But for everyone else who couldn't afford basic quality care, it could mean that we are also, pressuring the families to provide beyond what is beyond their means of doing so, and that is why we need a good community-based care that can help support families to play their role instead of government overtaking the role of the families. The government should provide services that help families to perform their role in caregiving.
Absolutely. That brings me to the point where, if I may, Tunku Aira, I'd like to ask you for a UNFPA Malaysia perspective on identifying one of the key gender-based narratives when it comes to the fact that, especially in our society, the expectation for aged care within families quite often is then almost subconsciously and also quite consciously passed on to female members within the family. Why is this also a perspective that we absolutely need to remain cognizant of when we discuss aging?
Thank you, Tehmina. So, coming back to Dr. Narima's point about, taking into account the socio-cultural aspect, and this is exactly the reason why women carry majority of the burden of care work, and they are most of the time unpaid. And this is not just a phenomenon in Malaysia, it is a global phenomenon. Socio-cultural aspects globally actually showcase that women are the majority of the carrying the care burden for their families. And so what does that mean when they carry majority of the care burden? We will face situations where they may be not participating in the labor force. And when they do not participate in the labor force, we lose economic growth of the country because of their absence in the labor force when they could, be productive and be contributing to the labor force. And our women in Malaysia represents about 50% of the population.
Sure.
So it is really, really important that we ensure that they are able to participate in the labor force. And of course, coming from UNFPA, I must say that gender equality is at the core of our mandate, and rights to opportunities and productivity should be shared equally between men and women.
Absolutely, I hear you on that. And of course, the Madani government currently already has committed to clearly wanting to increase women's labour force participation rate from the mid-50%, it hovers at around 55, 56 to 60%. This is actually going to form a core point on whether or not we're going to be able to achieve that percentile differential. From there, moving along, Lily. Now, Lily, you are a gerontologist by profession, and you have also been the founder of Seniors Aloud, which is a very vibrant online Facebook community that incorporates perspectives from seniors. So I thought you would be the best person to anchor and lead this discussion on which foundations do you feel ought to be established before Malaysia can even begin to ensure that it's going to be a sustainable, healthy, aging kind of a perspective when it comes to this specific demographic?
I'm glad you brought up the word foundations, because to me, foundations, you just have to go back to the very, very basic foundation, and that is the core family, before we even talk about any established foundation. And everything begins from the home. That's where it all starts. So from the family, from the home, it goes on to the community and so forth. So for me, maybe because of my background as a teacher, I believe that the schools can do a lot in helping towards, you know, building a society, a future society of senior citizens who are pretty fit and healthy and can take care of themselves. And at the same time, because, you know, from the family unit, nowadays I'm sure you're aware that the core family unit is no longer existing to the extent that it was formerly.
Sure, even 20 years ago,
yes,
right?
It's kind of breaking up. And because of that, we need to focus on where to get external care for seniors. So, like Prof. Rahima said earlier, we have to focus on, you know, the NGOs, the foundation, because we can't expect the government to do everything, right? They have to come in as well. And I believe that in the family itself, the unit, we talk about daughters, we talk about being feminine and girls, right? They can come in and support by learning all about caregiving. And I like to quote an example from Singapore.
Sure, please do.
Because in Singapore, even the domestic helpers are given training as caregivers, because they are the ones who are going to be at home to look after the older parents. The children are all working or settled elsewhere. And in Malaysia, I think we do have some foundations already. For example, my Kasih, you know, they are the charity ones. But honestly, from what I know, our government, our healthcare system is about the most affordable in the world. You know how much it costs for it to be an outpatient? And I just found out recently that for maternity, the deposit is only 15 ringgit. Where can you get something like that? So I think the focus is not so much on the government providing the healthcare. I think there's a lack of connection. People do not know where to go to get affordable care, or which foundation to approach to get help. For example, there's a gap in the communication, where to seek accessibility.
Thank you for pointing that out. Now, moving from gaps for accessibility, let's move into the fact that when it comes to Asian elders, there is a distinct preference for aging in place. What about age-friendly infrastructures? And do you have any thoughts on, of course, I'm sure you've encountered this time and again from those in your community. What are some ideas people are having about how this can be built into our usual housing arrangements?
I think we can start off with the developers first. Developers who, when they have the project, whether it is for low cost or, you know, they have to practice universal design, which means it takes into account the needs of the elderly. Things like, simple things like the width of the bathroom door for wheelchair accessibility, as an example, non-slip flooring. So all this comes into place, but for the average family, household, it's something maybe beyond their ability to afford it. So government has to step in, start with the low-cost houses, PPPR.
Upgrading what is already existing as infrastructure.
Right? Sure. Yes, and I think we need more companies to come in also to help, how would I say, promote these devices and so forth. We don't have enough of those companies. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I think additionally we need support for home retrofitting or modification of existing homes that are not built to support aging in place. Especially, you know, the split level homes and you know the way that we design homes in the past is based on a more youthful idea and not taking into consideration the functional impairment or decline that we may face as we grow older. So these kinds of situation, for example, changing from a squatting toilet to a sitting toilet.
Simple measures, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Dr. Rahima. Lily, before I end with this arena, I would just like to highlight some perspectives from you when it comes to digital financial literacy, because one core way in which anyone moves through society today is through digital financial payments, and seniors in particular are one of the more vulnerable sectors when it comes to financial scams, and we've seen lots of utterly heartbreaking scenarios where people lose their entire savings, etc. What can be done throughout the year as a very cohesive approach towards addressing this core issue?
For our community, for example, and I think for U3A, University of the Third Age, we introduce subjects like financial literacy, digital, scams, alerts, and so forth. So we tell our community members, for example, just totally ignore any anonymous phone calls from numbers you don't know.
That's your SOP,
Yes,
yeah?
right,
That's your 101.
yes.
Wonderful.
All you got to do is just ignore. If you think that it's suspicious, this number is not on your contact list, why do you bother? Don't be too curious, to respond to all this, and you'll be safe.
Fair enough. Some good SOPs in place. Thank you for that, Lily. Tunku Ira, moving into discussing demographic dividends. Would you mind first perhaps beginning with defining that, and why does it actually matter that according to our latest data, Malaysia will actually stop reaping demographic dividends by 2027, which is not too far away?
Thank you, Tehmina. I'll try not to bore you with jargons, but so demographic dividend basically refers to accelerated economic growth, and this is due to what we call demographic transition. What that means is that it begins with the changes in age structure, which happens in many countries around the world, where the country transitions from high to low birth and death rates. So as countries progress, deaths, mortality generally falls as child survival rates improves, and it often follows, and this is mainly because of improved health and sanitation systems.
That's right.
Yeah, and it often follows with declining fertility. As families have fewer children, they prioritize quality lifestyle, and then household resources would then be freed up to make investment in long-term and well-being. So similarly in Malaysia, we underwent the same situation. We had significant improvements in education, healthcare facilities over the last few decades. That basically means that we are basically rapidly, changing our demographics. We have higher number of older population and lower number of younger population. We have smaller number of working age group population that contributes to the economy, which means you have less people to contribute to this so-called accelerated economic growth. And so over time, as you mentioned, so what it means is that the demographic dividend period is closing,
Shrinking,
right?
yeah.
Shrinking, yeah. So we have less and less people contributing to this working age population to contribute to the economy. So there's maybe want to highlight here as well. There was a study that found 1% increase in the old age dependency ratio actually leads to average decline in Malaysia's GDP growth by 6.6%.
Right. So if we actually try and frame that with the figures that we are having currently we're at about 11% aged population. If we get to 15 in about 6 years, so that's going to be 6 times roughly 6.
Yes, and that's 1% increase. Every percentage of increase means, and maybe just to also define here, old age dependency ratio basically looks at the number of old age above 65 versus working age population.
Understood.
Yeah. So there's a lot that we need to do in order to address that. We'll have fewer and fewer people contributing to economic growth. A lot of policies should be in place. Efforts around enhancing human capital and again, female labour force participation rate and structural inequalities, as Dr. Rahima was mentioning, and we need to reform labour force as well to match what the population composition that we currently have can deliver for our economy. If we have more older population, we should allow them to be participating in the economy, and similarly with women as well.
Absolutely, the right to choice. Thank you very much for that, Tunku Ira. Thank you all panelists. I think we have laid the landscape for the discussion extremely well with a couple of those insights from our expert speakers. We now shift to a quick look at a video. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Niaga Spotlight.
Bila kerja sendiri, semua kena buat sendiri. Tapi, bersama rakan niaga, semuanya dapat ditempuhi bersama.
Welcome back to Niaga Spotlight. Thanks for still logging on to us right here on Astro AWANI. You're watching UNFPA Malaysia collaboration special with Astro AWANI, or focusing on IDOP 2024, which is International Day of Older Persons. Getting back right into the discussion now. Lily, so rapid aging, as we have clearly established, will also quite likely require that Malaysians will have to work longer.
Right.
Now, at the same time, though, the employment rate of those aged 55 to 64 years in Malaysia is particularly low, especially for women. And this is compared to other upper middle and high income countries. In fact, it actually only stands at around 45%. So what challenges have you noted that seniors face, especially when it comes to them wanting to continue working, but at the same time not really being able to, especially over the past few years?
There's a lot of ageism, discrimination, age discrimination in the employment market. Because once you're out, like you retire, 55 or even 60, and after 1 or 2 years of enjoying your retirement years, you want to get back to work.
Sure.
Because you find that you don't have enough savings for your retirement since you are living longer now. So, but the problem is this, no matter how good your CV looks, once the HR director sees the age, oh my gosh, 50-something or 60-something, that's it, it stops there. Why? Maybe because they think society still has a very negative image of older people, retirees. They still think of us as senile, old, fragile, all the very, very negative picture. But we are no longer that. We are not like that. In fact, I was just sharing earlier that we are the first, I consider myself this first wave. Right? First wave of baby boomers who have retired, and they are professionals. They are educated. So of course, we expect a certain level of salary based on our experience. But that's where the problem comes in. Because most companies can't afford your last pay. So because of that, I keep telling my community members, for example, when you sit at the bargaining table regarding your job, right, please try to understand, look at it from their point of view and not just push your own agenda. You are retired and now you want to get back. You cannot expect them to pay you the same, your last drawn salary. You got to negotiate, right? Maybe you can do flexi hours or part-time or something where both parties can come to an agreement. And then you go, you get what you want, they get what they want. So that's how you go with the bargaining. But it's very true, a lot of seniors, even early 60s, right? They can't get back into the job market once they have left it.
Due to age discrimination.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've raised some great points there. And is there a gendered dimension or narrative to that? What about women seniors who want to come back into the workplace, also being cognizant of the fact that many women do actually quite often drop out either completely or partly
Right.
from the workforce due to care work burdens.
Family, looking after the family, the children, and then later on they have to look after their elderly parents. So there's almost a non-stop caring journey for women. That's why it's very feminine. You know,
very
the whole-
feminized.
Yes, yeah, feminized, sorry. Yeah, and I think there's nothing much we can do about it, except for the good thing is that we can go towards entrepreneurship, because that's one way of solving the problem. And I noticed that, you know, if you compare the men and the women where entrepreneurship is concerned, you find that women do better.
Very much so.
Very
Sometimes
much,
it's
yes,
almost
yes.
wholly represented by
right.
women in certain areas.
Right. They operate from the home. That's all they need, basic. But they have to pick up some digital skills
Fair
because they
enough.
have to do marketing and stuff like that, social media.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for those insights. Love it. Now, Tunku Ira, moving into another angle of the same discussion, let's discuss the demographic of older persons who once again are able to and want to work. So how should we then approach promoting decent work opportunities for them?
Yeah, I think this flows nicely based on what Lily was mentioning. I really wanted to touch on. You know, when Lily was mentioning about us individuals, you know, bargaining chips and you were saying, you know, go into entrepreneurship, I believe that the support system, you know, the economy plays a role, you know, to basically support these individuals. And we need to, you know, invest in reskilling and retraining older workers, and particularly in digital literacy, as you were mentioning earlier as well. So there's a role in everyone, public, private sector, to collaborate to ensure that the market system is actually more attractive and suitable for older population. And there's many things that we can do, that jobs can be adapted to ensure that it's suitable, as you were mentioning, flexible working hours, maybe, and we do this as well in our office, you know, provide a, you know, monthly, you know, assignments where you have a monthly payment, so they don't actually work full time. You know, so there's many opportunities, and so in this way you'll make the jobs more attractive for older population, ensuring that they basically participate in the workforce. And also back to the point on women, we definitely need to support them throughout the whole life course. You know, as Lily was mentioning, it's a journey of care throughout. So how can we ensure that they return to the workforce? There are already initiatives by the government, but perhaps maybe we can make those initiatives more known and maybe strengthen those initiatives. And we can also include not only return to the workforce after your childcare, but also together with the time that you spend for caring for elderly. So how can you manage that, plus some flexible working arrangement that could be possible at a certain age when you're older? Yeah.
Exactly. So what I'm hearing a lot of is that perhaps we would do good to consider on a much broader scope nationally, even elimination of mandatory retirement ages.
Oh, yes.
As you were mentioning, Lily, there's the first wave already. I'm sure there's going to be second and third and other waves of those who are aging, who are actually going to be in excellent physical condition, and they ought not to have to retire at 60, 65, right? So let's look now, moving along into another arena. Dr. Rahima, now, population aging, such as what Malaysia is experiencing, is of course actually the result of successful economic as well as social development and the rising life expectancy. But based on our current trends, the average Malaysian will though be spending an estimated 9.5 years of their life expectancy, usually towards end of life, in poor health. And this is due to non-communicable diseases, NCDs, or chronic diseases. Are there any policy-centric approaches that My Aging would be supportive of or would like to pitch forth?
Okay. In order to address this issue, we have to look at promoting healthy aging across the lifespan, because dealing with NCD per se is not going to be sustainable over the long run. So we need to promote.
It costs a lot.
Yeah, it costs a lot. And as people age, and with additional issues like the burden of disease and also the risks for disability, So there will be a burden of healthcare and also the need for long-term care. So that is why at My Aging we tend to promote policies that that look into how to ensure older persons remain active and also healthy as long as possible, so that we will limit the time that so that we will have a better healthy life expectancy.
Very true. So perhaps strengthening those mechanisms when it comes to how ministries are working, but also not being in silos anymore. Lily, I'd like to pick up on the fact that, of course, one part of aging is also the reality. And the reality of the fact is that 4 out of 10 Malaysians will in fact require palliative care towards the end of their lives. So this translates to an estimated around 56,000 or so patients each year. And naturally, this number is also accelerating as our population ages. What about Malaysia's approach towards ensuring adequate aged care facilities to accommodate such palliative care?
I always go back to basics and foundation. So our motto is actually be responsible for your own health. Start now, as early as possible. So because that will prevent, like being very, very sick and spending the last few years of your life, hospitals require nursing care and so forth. So why not focus on being healthy, engage in activities. For example, in our community, in just 1 month alone, just talking about exercising and outdoors, we have more than 50 activities to cater, and that's only for outdoors.
And this is on seniors allowed.
Right. And that's only outdoors. We have others as well that will, like mental stimulation. We have got board games, playing bridge, Scrabble, all that. So the whole package is there to help seniors. And I'm also happy to say that right now there's a lot of awareness being built to take care of yourself, grow old well, age well, all that. So this is, compared to maybe 10, 20 years ago, nothing. So we are, I think, on the right path now, finally. I have to say finally.
We are,
because it's a long time coming for people like us. Because time is not on our side. And we cannot afford to wait until the government, like the Senior Citizens Bill, healthcare bill, my gosh, sorry for saying that, but we've been waiting for so long for it. And now we hear that it's still being not yet even tabled in the parliament.
Priorities, and thank you for highlighting that.
Yes, we don't have the time.
Indeed, we don't have the time. And moving along from there into another equally pertinent issue, Dr. Rahima, if I could now open up the discussion on another major challenge in population aging, which is the provision of adequate savings for retirement. What are some My Aging perspectives on immediate areas of action to address the retirement fund deficit when it comes to seniors so that they are able to age in a dignified manner?
Okay, so a critical issue is we need to look at the financial security of the large proportion of Malaysians who are either outside of formal employment or nearing retirement age, because some of these people do not have adequate retirement savings. So this can include gig economy workers, small-scale traders. So all these people who are in the informal sector, they might not have enough, and they might have to work until they die because they have to maintain their livelihood. So we need to look at a pension reform and expanding the social protection for a broader number of Malaysians, broader coverage, for Malaysians.
Thank you. Thanks very much for that. Tunku Ira, if I may refer to UNFPA Malaysia to add a couple of perspectives also when it comes to the fact that seniors increasingly want to remain independent, but there is a huge deficit when it comes to pension funds, or even seniors never having been part of the formal workforce at all. so they have zero access to that. What then can be, perhaps for now, some of the stopgap measures to address this? Because another dimension that we are seeing underrepresented, but it's more visible these days, is slightly elevated rates of elderly homelessness, especially in our urban areas where cost of living is always a concern.
Yeah, thank you for raising that. You know, we had a study with UNICEF Families on the Edge.
That's right.
Yeah, and so it started off we did it during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we took a longitudinal approach where we see how the situation has improved for low-income population, socioeconomic situation, impact of the pandemic, and the female-headed household and disabled-headed household are the worst impacted population. And basically from the study, we looked at how, part of the recommendations included social assistance improvements, social protection improvements, and of course, just as Dr. Narima was mentioning about the informal sector, unfortunately, majority of low income, particularly women who need to do all of these care responsibilities, they fall under the informal bracket. And when they need to have this flexible working arrangement, they opt for informal sector. And so one of the recommendations was to formalize the informal sector so that they too will benefit from social protection and social assistance. And we also recommended social assistance to be increased for different cares that you have. If you have a certain number of children, if you have an elderly or sick family member or disabled family member, so all of these different support that needs to be provided should be provided assistance to. And so yeah, I mean, formalizing the informal sector is really critical, because otherwise, as you grow old and you will never get the social protections equally with your other counterparts in formal sectors. Yeah.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for referencing back to the fact that the pandemic actually opened up several areas of key concern, but now that we have a little more data around it, we need to take a more evidence-based approach to hopefully solving the problem when it comes to elderly and their savings.
And you mentioned cost of living.
Yes, please.
So at the last part of the study, we realized that although efforts have increased, but cost of living became the number one problem of need to support low income population.
Correct. And I'll just highlight, this is actually from an National Population Family Development Board survey. It is 2016 stats, but it showed that about 80% of elderly are still dependent on adult children to provide support, especially cash assistance. So hopefully that number has shifted from the latest data that should be available soon, but that is a concerning number. Thank you. Lily, I think I would like a quick perspective from you when it comes to the healthcare system in Malaysia and specific pressures which will be faced with an increase of degenerative diseases like dementia in particular, and how can we bridge the gap? The elderly dementia cases is estimated to increase to close to 700,000. This will be by 2050, but at the same time, it is currently at about 350K odd cases.
It just so happened that September is also, World Alzheimer's Day month, and I just wrote about it as well in the papers. I've been on a 10-year journey of dementia care for my mom, so I know where all this is coming from. It is something there's no cure for it at the moment. Yeah, so for dementia, for Alzheimer's, so we have to, it goes back to the same old thing. It starts from basic foundation and everything. You take care of yourself, mental stimulation and all that, activity strategies, and hopefully your risk of getting diseases like that is much, much lowered. But I'd like to say that because earlier you're mentioning about homelessness and COVID, I did a documentary focusing on the homelessness and what's the reason for, what's the cause, and what can we do about it, And I think basically one of the main solutions is just to give us jobs. Help us. If we want to work, let us work. Of course, not every retiree wants to work, but those who want to and those who are fit enough, help us. Give us If you can't give us a job, help train us so that we can have our own business. Because we do not want to be a burden to our children. We want to continue to be as independent for as long as possible and take care of ourselves. And by going back to work, we are in touch with society. We are able to contribute to the economy as well.
That's right.
So that's what we want. And all this comes in the whole package. We look at ourselves, we are healthier, we have less chance of falling sick, and we want to, you know, live our life in such a way that the remaining years is just like just one year or few months, and then we go.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Lily. But I think you've ended with a really strong mission statement. I'll ask very quickly for Dr. Rahima to share her thoughts from a My Aging perspective on the occasion of IDOP 2024, and then Tengku Aira.
Okay. So, in My Aging, we want to highlight from the perspective of the life course. So, it's not just about chronological age or the age on your identification card or on the number of candles on your birthday cake, but it's also about age stages or life stages. So as we move into the fourth stage of our life, you know, there are increasing need for care and support, and we need to look at this as a social investment rather than as a personal journey or responsibility. And with that said, so it has to be emphasized that aging, while it is a personal journey, it's also a social responsibility.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rahima. And Tengku Aira, if I could ask to end with your thoughts from a UNFPA Malaysia perspective for IDOP 2024.
Thank you, Tehmina. I mean, reflecting on all that has been said, I think I just want to note that aging is a developmental progress. It's not a burden, and we should embrace it. And if we want to ensure growth, sorry, I'm stealing her point. Yes, we need to ensure that all different groups of population are addressed, you know, a life cycle approach. And, you know, older persons are, since we are aging, it's really, really critical. And again, coming back to women, they're not yet old. I mean, they are 50%, about half of our population, and they really need to be, you know, part of the key contributors to the female labor force. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much all for your time and insights. It's been a very enriching discussion indeed. And well, that's all we have time for today on Niaga Spotlight with me, Tehmina Kaoosji. We wish all our elders throughout Malaysia a very happy and most meaningful International Day of Older Persons, IDOP 2024. We'll close out with a message from the United Nations Population Fund. Let's watch.
In recent decades, we have seen major improvements in nutrition, education, healthcare, and sanitation worldwide. As a result, we are living longer than ever before. This social transformation is a triumph of development. Asia and the Pacific is a diverse region, and how people age is often dependent on factors such as wealth, ethnicity, social standing, and education. The effects of gender discrimination throughout life, including fewer rights, less access to education and health services, as well as lower earning capacity, leave women even more disadvantaged in an aging society. To ensure that progress is inclusive for all and to take advantage of the opportunities an aging population offers, government must incorporate aging issues into national development and health plans. Otherwise, an aging population places an unsustainable strain on financial and healthcare systems. If policies address the whole life cycle, healthy older people can contribute financially by working and socially by volunteering and caring for family members. A life cycle approach to aging offers an opportunity to benefit all in society. This means making investments and formulating legislation in terms of income security, healthcare and pensions across the life cycle, and considering all life's milestones from birth through to childhood, education, working years and beyond. Prenatal care reduces infant and maternal mortality and promotes longer-term health. CSE, or Comprehensive Sexuality Education, helps prevent unintended pregnancy and STIs and gives girls control of reproductive health. Elimination of harmful practices prevents forced or early marriage and allows girls to reach their potential. Intergenerational relationships allow flexibility as different generations play a part in family life. Promote social inclusion to meet the health needs of older people and include them in decision-making. Tackling ageism helps fight discrimination and social prejudice. This life cycle approach needs to be ongoing and ingrained in society through the development of sustainable and equitable systems of health and social care, backed by data measurement and research. Let's look at the milestones facing two women born on the same day in Asia Pacific. A is from a poor rural family in a low-income country, and B is born to a professional urban family in an upper middle-income country. Both girls have the same potential, but are on very different life paths. B's birth in a hospital is safe. Her mother had a midwife who supports her with advice on breastfeeding and childhood nutrition. Born at home in her village, A has no access to maternity services. Mothers and children like her are vulnerable to complications during pregnancy, childbirth, and the postnatal period. Support from public health services, health checks, and full vaccinations help B grow into a healthy toddler. Children in low-income countries like A's are likely to have low birth weight and to be malnourished. Disadvantaged nutritional and social environments put children at increased risk of chronic conditions in later life. This is costly for individuals and society. In upper middle income nations, pre-primary education is widespread, so B gets a head start in learning and social interaction. In low-income nations, many children will receive basic primary education. Girls, marginalized populations, and displaced people often fall behind. Primary education levels have a huge impact on social, political, cultural, and economic conditions in a country. As a teenager, B has lessons in building better gender relationships and on reproductive health. The skills she learns will help her build lifelong relationships and avoid loneliness along the life cycle. In A's culture, girls marry young. With no access to education on sex and contraception, she cannot easily plan her family. When she becomes pregnant, she leaves school and is at greater risk of poverty, isolation, and domestic violence. Early pregnancy affects girls' health, education, and future financial potential. In upper-income nations, the average marriage age is older, so B has time and flexibility to make decisions on education and when to start a family or pursue a career. In all nations, especially in disadvantaged environments, sedentary lifestyles, increased consumption of sugars and fast food, as well as smoking, drug and alcohol use, escalates instances of conditions like hypertension, as well as cancer and diabetes. The life cycle approach must analyze changes in lifestyle and encourage lifelong exercise to reduce risk factors. While her husband goes overseas to work, A sells goods in a local market to support her family. This is low-paid and insecure work. B has access to childcare benefits and pension savings so she can plan for a future for their children. Reproductive health services help with family planning and fertility so she can plan pregnancies around her career. With no such access to family planning services, A soon has a second child. The birth leaves her with a fistula. Without universal health coverage or money to treat her problem, she suffers from incontinence, social stigma, and has fewer work opportunities as she heads into old age. B and her partner can save money from their jobs and have pensions. Lifelong universal health coverage and social benefits for the elderly reduces the burden of care for families. Now a widow at 60, A has moved in with her adult son. She worries about contributing to the household. Her small government pension does not cover the costs of medicine and food. Age-friendly policies and infrastructure allow B to enjoy an active lifestyle. At 70, she's able to work, volunteer, study and be independent, while having time to spend with her family. A suffers mobility issues. She spends long hours at home, caring for her grandchildren, a role she loves, but which she finds harder to fulfill as her health deteriorates. She is increasingly isolated and worried about the burden on her now grown children. The disparities in the lives of A and B are unfair but not inevitable. If more governments in the Asia-Pacific region emphasize a lifestyle approach to aging alongside economic development, millions of people could have improved life chances and a better likelihood of a happy older age. Early life intervention, universal health coverage, and an education that reduces harmful practices can be standard in all nations in the Asia-Pacific region. This life cycle approach requires changes in laws and attitudes to social protection, gender equality, universal health coverage, and how older people are treated. This is already happening. The Republic of Korea has passed an act of anti-discrimination and employment of older persons. In China, pensions reforms have incentivized workforce formalization and have increased coverage of social security systems. Japan promotes healthy aging with policies starting from pregnancy and childbirth through the whole life course. Its integrated system is based on long-term care insurance, the promotion of intergenerational solidarity, and the sustainability of an aging society. Policies such as these will help nations benefit from the ongoing demographic changes in Asia-Pacific, leading to wealthier, happier societies that benefit all generations.
Kami jual bunga, kami juga menjual benda yang ada kena-mengena dengan bunga.
Ada budak baru cuba kacau bisnes kita.
Saya tak buat apa-apa, Pak Cikgu. Tapi dia orang tetap nak kacau saya.
Siapa dia orang?
Orang yang tolak Rina, jatuh bangunnya.
Kadang-kadang nak betulkan apa yang salah, balas dendam itu perlu.
Kau bangun pagi tadi, terus rasa nak jadi lagi bodoh dari biasa.
Mulai sekarang, awak semua tebusan cikgu.
Saya tak percaya cikgu boleh buat benda macam ni.
Cikgu nak bunuh kita orang ke?
Tak. Awak akan makan dekat sini, awak akan tidur dekat sini, awak akan solat dekat sini. Mandi jenazah pun dekat sini. Kita akan sama-sama cari siapa yang bunuh Rina. Wajah saya takkan balik kecuali diorang bagi apa yang saya nak.
Kelas tahanan Cikgu Hiragi di Astro Ria dan Astro Go.
The world's best are ready to battle it out for T20 World Cup glory.
She is setting the stage alight.
As the heat gets turned up in the United Arab Emirates.
That is a high-class run chase.
Who will reign victorious?
That's the way to start a World Cup.
The ICC Women's T20 World Cup 2024. Live on Astro Cricket and Astro Go.
Awak buat saya ni macam penyondot.
I'm sorry. Kau nak sayang aku, Fahal. Kau relax boleh? Tak, kau, Fahal. Aku tak pilih lah. Oh. Try kau boleh.
Kalau dah sayang sangat, berkorbanlah sikit. Acik.
Apa motif you sebenarnya?
Dia tanya I. Saya dah fikir masa-masa
Can you explain this to me? Betul ke ni, Fish? Nana Mama mana?
Dia keluar dengan ayah dia.
Uncle Boss Mama di Astro Ria dan Astro Go.
Malaysia sebenarnya berada di kedudukan kedua terburuk di dunia berkaitan keseimbangan hidup dan kerja.
LRT3 sudah akan mula beroperasi suku ketiga 2025. Kerja-kerja fizikal dan penstrukturan sudah mencecah 95%. KPM sebenarnya sedang memperincikan cadangan untuk menyediakan allowance kos sara hidup tingkatan 6. Libat urus antara umat Islam dan agama lain penting supaya dapat mengelakkan ataupun membawa kepada Islamofobia.
Sejak jadi kakak kencang ni, ramai yang DM Hawa. Tanya macam-macam tentang Astro Fiber Wi-Fi kencang. Hawa, keluarga saya besar. Setiap hari kita semua guna internet serentak. Adakah Wi-Fi kencang 500 Mbps sesuai untuk keluarga saya? Jawapannya, ya. Wi-Fi kencang 500 Mbps sangat sesuai. Tak kisahlah mak nak layan drama ke filem ke, ayah pula nak tengok sport. Anak-anak nak main game online, live Instagram, live TikTok. Semua boleh dilakukan serentak tanpa gangguan. Kenapa tak dapatkan Wi-Fi kencang? Hanya RM90 je sebulan. Sangat berbaloi. Jom dapatkan Astro Fiber sekarang.
Tada! Bukan sahaja kami jual bunga, kami juga menjual benda yang ada kena-mengena dengan bunga.
Ada budak baru cuba kacau bisnes kita.
The Eagles bersedia untuk menyambar? Adakah peminat Liverpool bakal dikejutkan lagi? Rekod tampak menyebelahi Manchester United. Mampukah The Red Devils menundukkan The Villains? Segalanya bakal terungkai secara langsung. Saksikan Premier League eksklusif di Astro.
Penyasaran subsidi diesel di Semenanjung tidak akan memberi kesan kepada harga barangan keperluan di Sabah, Sarawak dan Labuan.
660 individu berusia bawah 21 tahun di Sarawak telah diberikan kewarganegaraan.
Sarawak kini menjalinkan kerjasama dengan Bank Dunia dalam menjayakan perdagangan karbonnya.
Saya tak buat apa-apa, Pak Cikgu. Tapi dia orang tetap nak kacau saya.
Siapa dia orang?
Yang tolak Rina atau bangunan.
Kadang-kadang nak betulkan apa yang salah, balas dendam itu perlu.
Kau bangun pagi tadi, terus rasa nak jadi lagi bodoh dari biasa.
Mulai sekarang, awak semua tebusan cikgu.
Saya tak percaya cikgu boleh buat benda macam ni.
Cikgu nak bunuh kita orang ke?
Tak. Awak akan makan dekat sini. Awak akan tidur dekat sini. Awak akan solat dekat sini. Mandi jenazah pun dekat sini. Kita akan sama-sama cari siapa yang bunuh Rina. Pelajar saya takkan balik kecuali diorang bagi apa yang saya nak.
Kelas tahanan Cikgu Hiragi di Astro Ria dan Astro Go.
Jangan takut. Tak sakit. Macam semut gigit aja.
Kalau tak ada sakit, macam semut gigit, apa kata Daddy potong dululah.
Sudah potong, maklum pun kena potong.
5 lelaki penghantar makanan didakwa di Mahkamah Magistrate Bangi atas tuduhan membunuh seorang pemandu kereta lelaki dalam satu kejadian.
4 sungai di sekitar kawasan perindustrian Pasir Gudang di Johor termasuk Sungai Kim Kim didapati tercemar dan berada pada tahap yang membimbangkan. Kerajaan sudah mulakan inisiatif untuk menggantikan kenderaan operasinya kepada kenderaan elektrik EV dalam skala kecil terlebih dahulu.
Saya tak buat apa-apa, Pak Cikgu. Tapi dia orang tetap nak kacau saya.
Siapa dia orang?
Orang yang tolak Rina atau bangunan.
Kadang-kadang nak betulkan apa yang salah, balas dendam itu perlu.
Kau bangun pagi tadi, terus rasa nak jadi lagi bodoh dari biasa.
Mulai sekarang, awak semua tebusan cikgu.
Saya tak percaya cikgu boleh buat benda macam ni.
Cikgu nak bunuh kita orang ke?
Tak. Awak akan makan dekat sini. Awak akan tidur dekat sini. Awak akan solat dekat sini. Mandi jenazah pun dekat sini. Kita akan sama-sama cari siapa yang bunuh Rina. Pelajar saya takkan balik kecuali diorang bagi apa yang saya nak.
Kelas tahanan Cikgu Hiragi di Astro Ria dan Astro Go.
Tada! Bukan sahaja kami jual bunga, kami juga menjual benda yang ada kena-mengena dengan bunga.
Ada budak baru cuba kacau bisnes kita.
Malaysia sebenarnya berada di kedudukan kedua terburuk di dunia berkaitan keseimbangan hidup dan kerja.
LRT3 sudah akan mula beroperasi suku ketiga 2025. Kerja-kerja fizikal dan penstrukturan sudah mencecah 95%. KPM sebenarnya sedang memperincikan cadangan untuk menyediakan allowance kos sara hidup tingkatan 6. Libat urus antara umat Islam dan agama lain penting supaya dapat mengelakkan ataupun membawa kepada Islamofobia.
Sejak jadi kakak kencang ni, ramai yang DM Hawa. Tanya macam-macam tentang Astro Fiber Wi-Fi kencang. Hawa, keluarga saya besar. Setiap hari kita semua guna internet serentak. Adakah Wi-Fi kencang 500 Mbps sesuai untuk keluarga saya? Jawapannya ya. Wi-Fi kencang 500 Mbps sangat sesuai. Tak kisahlah mak nak layan drama ke filem ke, ayah pula nak tengok sport. Anak-anak nak main game online, live Instagram, live TikTok. Semua boleh dilakukan serentak tanpa gangguan. Kenapa tak dapatkan Wi-Fi kencang? Hanya RM90 je sebulan. Sangat berbaloi. Jom dapatkan Astro Fiber sekarang.
Pelbagai inisiatif telah dilaksanakan bagi memperkasakan sektor pendidikan negara berdasarkan 7 teras nadi keunggulan Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia. Pertama, pembinaan semula bangunan daif di sekolah menerusi penubuhan pasukan petugas khas reformasi agensi STAR. Kedua, projek penyelenggaraan tandas institusi pendidikan Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia. Ketiga, pemberian bantuan awal persekolahan bagi sesi 2023-2024. Keempat, rancangan makanan tambahan. Kelima, perluasan program sekolah komprehensif 9 dan program sekolah komprehensif 11. Keenam, dasar pendidikan digital. Ketujuh, program gotong royong madani KPM 2023. Kerajaan sentiasa mengutamakan pendidikan melalui inisiatif bagi memacu negara ke arah intelektual yang berdaya saing.
Eagles bersedia untuk menyambar. Adakah peminat Liverpool bakal dikejutkan lagi? Rekod tampak menyebelahi Manchester United. Mampukah The Red Devils menundukkan The Villains? Segalanya bakal terungkai secara langsung. Saksikan Premier League eksklusif di Astro.
Apa signifikan dengan pengumuman ataupun berita yang keluar dari media China ini berkaitan dengan hasrat Malaysia untuk menyertai gabungan BRICS?
Kita mahu dapat lebih banyak umpamanya pelaburan daripada negara China.
Kalau melihat kepada Akta Kanak-Kanak 2001, adakah kita terlalu lambat untuk melihat proses untuk meminda akta sedia ada?
Kita perlu ada penyelarasan. Kita tak mahu bekerja secara silo.
Di era digital, pemasaran bukan hanya tentang penjualan semata-mata. Penceritaan menarik jadi kekuatan dalam membina hubungan perniagaan, tingkat pengetahuan, perkasakan perniagaan anda. Saksikan segmen JWSME dalam program AWANI Pagi dan Niaga AWANI setiap Isnin hingga Khamis di saluran 501. Dibawakan oleh penaja utama Jelajah Jiwa SME, Unify Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
The Sanderson Farms Championship returns, bringing you the thrill of top-tier golf right here in Mississippi. Watch as top pros and rising stars battle it out as the FedEx Cup ball continues. Who will claim the coveted Rooster Trophy?
Oktober ini penuh keriangan dan tawa untuk semua.
Minister yang berusaha, Ms. Ruth Porat, the President and CIO of Alphabet and Google, Mr. Wilson White, the Vice President of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Google, senior government officers, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. So again, it is an honor to be here today at Mantap, Malaysia, bersama AI. It's a critical milestone in Malaysia's digital leadership journey. So this groundbreaking of Google's first data center and cloud region in Tehmina, Selangor, is a strategic partnership that will transform Malaysia's digital and industrial landscape for decades to come. So I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Ms. Ruth Porat, President and CIO of Alphabet and Google, for her leadership in facilitating this collaboration between Malaysia and Google. So thank you, Ruth. This project is a testament to the continuous support and vision of our Prime Minister, Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, who has, as you've seen from the photo just now, personally engaged Ms. Porat on numerous occasions to ensure the success of this initiative. And after every meeting, virtual and physical, believe me, he will make sure that we deliver. And I would say make sure is an understatement. I would also like to thank Gobind for your help as well, and all the various ministries and agencies who are present here today for the close cooperation with all of us throughout this journey. It's really a whole of government approach. It's really a whole of nation approach. And together we have elevated Malaysia's position as a regional hub for AI, cloud computing, and advanced digital infrastructure. So, ladies and gentlemen, Google's data center is clearly in alignment with Malaysia's Industrial Master Plan, our new Industrial Master Plan 2030, our National Energy Transition Roadmap, and various other policies that the government have embarked on. And our policy to transform the industrial ecosystem that leverages cutting-edge technologies to drive sustainable as well as resilient economic growth. So I'm very happy to see that we are in sync with some of the proposals the government has and Google's. And the investment of $2 billion in its data center and cloud region, as mentioned just now, is expected to bring $3.2 billion in GDP growth and create 26,000 new higher-skilled jobs over the next 5 years. So this represents real opportunities for Malaysians to participate in and benefit from the digital economy. The importance of data centers in driving Malaysia's digital transformation cannot be overstated. Data centers are really the backbone of modern digital infrastructure, and powering everything from artificial intelligence, from cloud computing to AI, and providing the foundation for industries to thrive in the digital era. So under the Industrial Master Plan, we actually aim to create 3,000 smart factories by 2030, driven by advanced technologies and AI. And of course, this includes big data, machine learning, etc. So Google's state-of-the-art data center will play a crucial role in enabling this vision. And data centers are also critical enablers for Malaysia's ambition to become a regional leader in cloud computing and AI. And regionally, the demand for data processing and storage solutions is increasing exponentially. Malaysia is well positioned to meet this demand, and thanks to robust digital infrastructure we are building, which include data centers. And both Gobin and myself are monitoring this, and we are also proud to say, Prime Minister, that we do ensure that the standards of data centers in Malaysia meets the sustainability standards globally. And equally important is actually how data centers enable startups and SMEs also to access advanced technology, helping them to scale their operations and compete globally. And the government's strategic focus on data centers is also part of our broader effort to integrate modern services into Malaysia's economy. Data centers, along with cloud services and digital government initiatives, also form the foundation for Malaysia's further development of services sectors, such as finance, healthcare, and education. So all this will increasingly rely on cloud computing and AI to deliver innovative solutions timely, cost efficiently, as well as at scale. So ladies and gentlemen, since 2021, Malaysia has approved 123.5 billion ringgit in data centers investment through MIDA and MDEC, right? Positioning the country as a preferred regional data center hub. Collectively, these investments are expected to create more than 64,000 high-value jobs. The global average job multiplier for data centers driven by region and sector, typically creating 4 to 6 additional jobs for each direct role. So for example, Google's US data centers report a 5.9 times multiplier, right? Meaning nearly 6 indirect jobs for each direct one job, right? So this highlights the broader economic impact and job creation potential for Malaysia's data center industry. We are also aware how energy-intensive data centers can be, how energy-intensive they are, and this is why we have the green investment strategy is focused on ensuring that all new digital infrastructure developments, including data centers, support our commitment to achieving net zero emissions by 2050. It used to be as early as 2050. Now we've changed it to by 2050. So to this end, the government will soon introduce guidelines focusing on PUE and WUE, which is power usage effectiveness and water usage effectiveness, to minimize the environmental footprints of these facilities while maximizing their operational efficiency. Additionally, I think our Deputy Prime Minister has mentioned just now in the room that our upcoming Corporate Renewable Energy Support Scheme, CRESS, will enable third-party access for renewable energy, allowing companies like Google to source clean energy directly from energy producers. And this will further promote green energy adoption to support the decarbonization of Malaysia's digital infrastructure. And just last week, we also launched the Circular Economy Policy Framework for the manufacturing sector, which will play a key role in ensuring that industries, including data centers, embrace circularity by promoting for reuse, recycling, and remanufacturing of materials. And this approach aligns with Malaysia's broader sustainability goals and reinforces our leadership in green growth and meeting our commitments under the Paris Agreement. And Google Data Center will serve as a new corporate benchmark in Malaysia via the PUE and WUE and via our circular economy best practices. And as you know, Google has water stewardship program. You mentioned about 120% of the water consumed will be replenished. And equally noteworthy is Google's strong commitment to clean energy. And I think I will not repeat what was said just now, but we are in full support of the same agenda. So ladies and gentlemen, above all, this journey is about our people, about investment, and about our communities. And we really support and laud Google's collaboration with the Ministry of Education, UNICEF Malaysia, Celcom DG, MDEC, and ARUS Academy to implement the future skills for all initiative in Selangor. We have the Chief Minister of Selangor here, and we hope you will continue this with other states as well. So, in closing, I would like to say thank you again. We stand on the cusp of the new digital era. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Google for its continued confidence in Malaysia. The Mantap Malaysia bersama AI project is more than just a data center. It's a symbol of our shared commitment to building a future that is digitally driven, sustainable, and inclusive. And thank you, Yang Berhormat Prime Minister, for your endless support, endless pressure to make sure that this becomes a success. And through the government's continued commitment to the Industrial Master Plan, Energy Transition Roadmap, GIS, CEPF, NSS, we together with the support of global tech giants like Google, we can stand and will position Malaysia as a leader in the global digital economy while building a prosperous, sustainable, and digitally enabled Malaysia for all. So thank you. Sekian. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat Tengku Zafrul. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Google's commitment to advancing Malaysia with AI aligns perfectly with Economy Madani's focus on fostering an inclusive and innovative economy. By investing infrastructure in the country, equipping our workforce with the tools and knowledge to thrive in the digital age, we're collectively building a more resilient and prosperous Malaysia. To further illuminate this synergy and guide us on this journey of progress, we're deeply honored to have with us the architect of Economy Madani, a leader who champions innovation and inclusivity, driving Malaysia's journey towards a digitally powered future. Ladies and gentlemen, may we now call upon Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Sri Anwar bin Ibrahim, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, to deliver his officiating speech for this event.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Rakan saya Ruth Porat dan pasukan Google, rakan-rakan menteri, yang Bapak Menteri Besar, saudara-saudara yang saya muliakan. Sekali lagi kita menyaksikan suatu acara dan perkembangan yang sangat membanggakan. Malaysia telah diberikan perhatian sebagai suatu gelanggang pelaburan yang bermakna untuk mengangkat keupayaan kita dalam bidang digital. Jadi saya percaya dalam kerangka ekonomi madani, salah satu tunggaknya dan bersama dengan beberapa dasar yang kita umumkan dari sudut pelan perindustriannya, digitalnya, hijau, itu dapat kita penuhi dengan penyertaan Google. Saya lebih tertarik kerana mendengar pandangan-pandangan dikemukakan, terutama pasukan Google dan juga Tengku Zafrul. Dia serasi dengan dasar kita. Ya, peningkatan digital dan AI, kehijauan, satu kegiatan yang mengambil kira keperluan semasa, digital, inklusif, dan tidak meninggalkan seluruh kelompok masyarakat. Jadi satu permulaan yang sangat bermakna bagi negara kita, apalagi dengan kehadiran Ruth Porat sendiri untuk bersama memberi dukungan ini. Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, now I must first express my profound gratitude to Ruth and her team for giving this support. And when I first met her in New York and following that in San Francisco, I can sense the seriousness of Google looking at their past experience and commitment and also success in this field, and following that instructed my team to focus and listen to them and see what is required to ensure that Malaysia becomes an attractive destination for the investments because they would mean not only benefit to the industry, but more so to be able to prepare Malaysia in this field, benefit the rakyat, and ensure that we become a successful nation to harness the full potential of technology for economic advancement. Strategic policy interventions are essential, and we need their input. That's why I must express my thanks to Ruth, because your team has been extremely helpful, working with our team as colleagues, because there are areas that you have far excel and advance. I mean, I make no apologies. I mean, there's a reality. But we remain very committed, and to ensure that we do achieve this, we have to listen, make adjustments, legal framework, policy guidelines or prescriptions, the ecosystem. All these issues must be dealt with and efficiently executed through this sort of collaboration. So, thank you again, and come again to Malaysia and be our trusted allies and friends. Now, we also aim to position Malaysia as a hub for generative AI, and investments from tech partners will be critical in building a robust and secure digital infrastructure. Now, driving Malaysia towards AI leadership, the Madani government launched the AI Talent Roadmap for Malaysia and the Malaysia Artificial Intelligence Consortium as a concrete pathway towards AI advancement. Yes, we took the initiative, but we cannot deny the fact that these initiatives are introduced after a series of discussions with the industry, including, and particularly so, AI. Google. That's precisely the reason why I take extra pain to mention your role, your collaborative role, to give the necessary input based on your past experience with other countries. Yes, the difference is being that we have, and our leaders, our team, Zafrul, Gobin here, Lok, Fahmi, and the state, we have the humility, and we acted fast enough because we want Malaysia to succeed, and we believe and trust Malaysian companies, Malaysian civil society, having the capacity to absorb this and bring up our nation as a successful, vibrant economy, and hopefully the best in the region. Now, in line with efforts to position Malaysia as a competitive player in the global AI landscape, the government is establishing the National Artificial Intelligence Office. Again, on the insistence and suggestion of many of these companies, because they require this office to coordinate all initiatives related to AI technology. So inshallah, in the next 12 months, we aim to achieve several key outcomes, including to complete AI technology action plan. When I say 12 months, this was a suggestion by the ministers. To me, there's no reason why you need to wait for 12 months. You should be able to complete in 6 months. Otherwise, we have to make some adjustments with the cabinet. And this includes a regulatory framework to increase adoption of ethical and sustainable AI technology. We will also adopt and expedite AI adoption in key sectors across Malaysia. Now, by leveraging partnerships with industry leaders and strengthening collaboration among all stakeholders, Malaysia can realize these goals and establish its role as a leading AI-driven nation in ASEAN. I whispered to Ruth that one of our priorities when we assumed the chairmanship of ASEAN is the focus on the issue of digitalization and the networking within ASEAN, having this prominence, not only for Malaysia, but the entire region. And this is where we should be able to listen and to engage with the Google team to see ways we can expedite and accelerate this process. I would also like to underscore that the national cloud policy is forthcoming, stressing 4 core areas. Now you can appreciate the difficulty that I'm struggling with. I am in the 70s league, having to understand this new technology. Now I'm compelled to try and understand what is seemingly Greek to me in the AI industry, but if I, in my generation, can try and learn and absorb, there's no reason for the younger Malaysians to be able to be given the opportunity to quickly advance and excel in this field. That's why we have now an added policy to be able to ensure that Malaysia remains attractive and deal with issues raised by the industry. Now, the 4 core areas I mentioned. First, the Madani government will boost public service, innovation, and efficiency. Now, this is particularly important, and again, precisely the reason why I have decided that after 12 years, we'll make a major departure from the existing salary scheme to make sure that Malaysia remains efficient through an efficient public sector. And that's why the salary scheme will be implemented from the 1st of December. And more important, with the revised salary scheme, the level of efficiency must also increase exponentially. The Americans say to enhance, but I say to enhance the capability. Now, second, we seek to promote economic competitiveness and growth, fuel economic expansion by enabling businesses, especially SMEs and startups, to harness cloud technology for innovation, operational efficiency, and access to global markets. Third, we are committed to strengthening user trust and data security. The government will establish robust security frameworks and protocols to protect sensitive data and critical infrastructure in both public and private cloud environments. Finally, we will empower citizens through digital inclusivity. Our approach will be citizen-centric and inclusive, utilizing cloud technology to enhance the accessibility and efficiency of digital-first public services. The Ministry of Digital has been tasked to spearhead Malaysia's comprehensive digital transformation initiatives. Now, ladies and gentlemen, embracing technology will allow government agencies to optimize processes, lower costs, and serve the rakyat better. A notable example is, of course, the Ministry of Education's creation of the Delima platform of Google's cloud technology. I've seen it, impressive and major contribution to enhance the level of education, the standard of education, and the proficiency of our students in acquiring and acquisition languages, particularly Bahasa and English. I am pleased to note that 5.5 million students and teachers in Malaysia today use the Delima platform to transform their educational experience. This effort should be emulated by the whole government machinery, where appropriate. We will address this issue in the cabinet meeting tomorrow, inshallah, and to alert my colleagues. If the Ministry of Education can adopt 5 million, there's no reason why government departments cannot immediately embark on it. This is how we run the Madani government. Our policies on attracting digital investments are clear. By modernizing Malaysia through these technological advancements, we will not only enhance efficiency and effectiveness, but also cultivate a culture of innovation and digital literacy that will permeate throughout the country, society, country, and inshallah, the region. From a regional perspective, we will, together with ASEAN, we will position ourselves as a regional champion for digital policies that are forward-looking and transformative to promote a regulatory environment that encourages technological advancement and to nurture cross-border collaboration. I am encouraged, therefore, that a global tech company like Google recognizes the potential of our nation and a determination to contribute to our growth in a way that is sincere and environmentally responsible. I cannot overstress this. We have just heard the Google strategy, the inclusivity, the training, the collaboration with the students, the commitment to green technology, and therefore, I must state that we will continue to have partners who share our values towards a sustainable future. On this note, Ruth and the team, let me assure you that we will have all our support, and thank again Google for their confidence and contribution to Malaysia. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri. Datuk Sri, may we please have the honor of having you move toward the center of the stage, just behind our launching mechanism, towards the middle. And now I'd like to also extend a warm invitation to all our VIPs in attendance today on stage to join Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri in our groundbreaking ceremony.
Malaysia sebenarnya berada di kedudukan kedua terburuk di dunia berkaitan keseimbangan hidup dan kerja.
LRT 3 sudah akan mula beroperasi suku ketiga 2025.